What's up, Broncos country? Welcome back to the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube for the latest episode of Broncos Now. As always, I'm your host, Sydney Jones, and coming up on today's episode, Broncos lead writer Eric Dalala joins the show. We'll recap the Pro Bowl from this past weekend and look ahead to this week in Las Vegas for NFL honors. All that and more coming up. Joining me here inside the Broncos Podcast studio for today's episode of Broncos Now is Broncos lead writer Eric Dalala. Eric, thanks for joining the show today. Welcome back. It's been a few weeks.
You got it, Sid. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course, always. How are things?
They're good, Sid. It's been somewhat quiet of an offseason compared to the last couple of years, but the Senior Bowl happened last week, Pro Bowl happened last week, so still stuff going on. You and I are about to head out to Las Vegas for the Super Bowl, so
exciting stuff.
Plenty of stuff still going on here.
Yeah. No, there is definitely, Eric. I want to talk about the Pro Bowl, like you mentioned, this past weekend. Sad to see Peyton Manning and the AFC lose, but looked like a fun weekend out there in Orlando for Justin Simmons, Marvin Mims, and Pat Surtain.
Yeah, it was cool. Marvin got a little bit of run with the offense during the Pro Bowl games. Didn't get any targets. Maybe you got to be a little bit older, not be a rookie to get the ball thrown your way. But Pat Surtain had another pick six, second year in a row that he's done that. It's fun to see these guys in a different light, and everything's so serious obviously during the year, and to get to see them hang out with their friends from around the league, guys that they can learn from, pick things up from. It's pretty cool, and certainly with Pat in particular, you see all these guys, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, our own Ben Swanson said he talked to both those guys, and they were highly complimentary of Pat Surtain and where he stands in the league. So I think that's one of the cool things about the Pro Bowl is a chance to hear from some of these other guys about what they think about your team, and certainly some high praise for those guys, and it looked like fun for them too, which is a big part of it.
And Marvin crushed the skills showdown what was that, Thursday?
Yeah, he caught a lot of footballs.
It was impressive.
Impressive. Justin Simmons not as good
Not as good, but
he tried his best, I think.
And it was great to hear from Peyton Manning and DeMarcus Ware, too. I know Ben Swanson also talked to them down there. A lot of Pro Bowl content on the DenverBroncos.com and our social media channels, so if you guys haven't seen it, check it out for sure. Yeah,
definitely. DeMarcus and Peyton, they're always dialed into what's going on with the Broncos, and it's just fun, even if the Broncos wish they were playing into the postseason, or last year just one Pro Bowl, or this year three. Still, like you see Peyton and DeMarcus down there, it's like a little Broncos connection still. So it's nice.
It is nice. Well, Eric, like you mentioned, we have a fun week ahead of us as we're both heading to Las Vegas for this week, just to cover NFL honors, kind of scout Radio Row, all that kind of stuff. Should be fun.
Yeah, it should be a good week. Some content coming. Hopefully we run into some of our guys this week. We'll be out there with Steve Atwater, the Hall of Famer, and Sydney, hoping to catch up with Garrett Bowles. He's the Broncos Walter Payton Man of the Year. So it'd be nice to see him, hopefully catch up with him a little bit. And then Randy Gradishar, knock on wood, hopefully he finally officially becomes a Hall of Famer. Obviously was named a senior finalist in the fall. And this is kind of that final step where they'll announce the Hall of Fame class of 2024. Hopefully Randy is confirmed as a Hall of Famer. I mean, it's a long time coming. He's obviously very deserving. So here's hoping, fingers crossed, he takes that final step. Yeah,
and this is his, I believe, fourth time as a finalist, right, Eric? So hopefully he gets things done this time around.
Yeah, and this time as a senior finalist, typically you see these guys go through, and nothing's ever guaranteed. So I'm sure until he hears the news for himself, he's going to, just be anxiously waiting and hoping that it becomes official. But yeah, this obviously feels like his best chance so far, and he was chosen from that pool of senior nominees this fall. Clearly, like I said, deserving. No members of the Orange Crush defense there. We've heard from people before that that's one of the big oversights of the Hall of Fame is that there's nobody from that Orange Crush defense in the Hall of Fame. And he talked in the fall about what it meant for him, even as a finalist. And you could tell back then that he knew this was a big step forward.
Right.
And just what it meant for him to represent those guys. He came from humble beginnings, and to be able to take that step means a lot to him. It means a lot to this organization, and hopefully he becomes that next Hall of Famer here.
Yeah, definitely one of the greatest, defenders in Broncos history. Eric, why do you think he's just so deserving looking back at his career?
Yeah, I mean, obviously everywhere. Just on the field, was able to play all over the place. He made every tackle, it seems like. Just a dominant player, the 1978 Defensive Player of the Year. Just an impressive guy, hard hitting, able to make plays. He was the core, kind of the heart and soul of that Orange Crush defense, and a lot of great players, obviously, on that unit. But he's the guy that's kind of always stood out as one of those main guys. And I think sometimes we get further away from those days, and there's not as many highlights as there are, but nowadays. But that was the first team that put the Broncos on the map and made the playoffs for the first time, got to the Super Bowl, won the AFC Championship against the Raiders. It was just an impressive group, and they changed the course of what this franchise was able to do, and Randy was at the heart of that. And so certainly deserving a lot of accolades, a lot of tackles, a lot of plays that he made during his career, and now hopefully he adds one more accolade to his resume.
We'll keep our fingers crossed. That will come out on Thursday night at NFL Honors, so everyone be on the lookout for that. I know we're not going to be in Vegas for the Super Bowl matchup, Eric, but how are we feeling about this year's Super Bowl?
Yeah, Sid, we've talked a lot, right, about how we hope the Chiefs wouldn't make it this far. And, a lot of Denver connections to the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan, son of Mike Shanahan, Christian McCaffrey, son of Ed McCaffrey, played here at Valor. Brian Greasy, the quarterback's coach, who played quarterback here, did some of our broadcasts. So, and several other connections as well, right? It doesn't stop there. So you'd like to think that maybe Denver has a few rooting interests there for San Francisco. Hopefully they're able to keep the Chiefs from winning another one. Nice and unbiased there. The one thing I saw John Elway talk about yesterday on the Sirius XM show with Tom Brady and Jim Gray was the difficulty in winning a back-to-back title. Just in that everybody's gunning for you. Everybody knows you're the best. You get everybody's best shot. And it's an exclusive group. Only 7 teams have ever done it. The Broncos in 97 and 98 are just one of 2 teams in the last 25 years to be able to do that. And that, I think, is even more impressive because that's in the era of free agency, and that's why it's so rare now is that guys change teams, and when you build a team that's really good, it's harder to keep it together. And so hopefully the Chiefs don't join that club. And the San Francisco 49ers are standing in their way, and it should be a good game. Kind of
I definitely think so.
Built similarly with some good defenses, and then it'll just be, Patrick Mahomes he makes plays and feels like he finds a way to get things done, whereas you have the Niners offense that is predicated on all these amazing players that are at the skill position. So hopefully Christian McCaffrey, local guy, hopefully he makes a couple plays and gets a ring.
Definitely. It's fun to see our Broncos connections to the 49ers, but I really like Brock Purdy too. No connections there, but his story is fascinating to me.
That's true. Yeah. Mr. Irrelevant and has played really well. He's definitely
he's had a lot of doubters.
Yeah, he has. Hopefully he's got it in him and is able to make a couple plays out there.
Yeah, I hope so too. Well, Eric, I know it's early in the week still, but do you have any Super Bowl predictions then?
I'm going to try to speak it into existence and say that the Niners are going to win. I think it'll be a close one.
I think so too. Eric, going back for a second, you said the Broncos are just one of 2 teams in the past 25 years to have won back-to-back Super Bowls. Who's the other team then?
The Patriots, in the early 2000s.
I knew that.
They won 3 out of 4, and so that was impressive, obviously.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the Chiefs don't do that. Did you watch opening night last night?
Yeah, so that was fun. It's
always a funny little event.
TV kind of spectacle, but got some good juice from Travis on Taylor's album, so that's exciting.
New album coming.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a cool event and a nice way to kick off the week.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it should be fun out there in Las Vegas this week, Eric. Looking forward to it and appreciate you coming on the show today.
You got it, Sid.
Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Broncos Now. Broncos Country, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll meet you right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube next week for another episode. We'll see you all then.